We are back on the early edge, and it's time to turn our attention to the NFL with Jason La Canfora, Danny Brasco, and Larry Hartstein. And gentlemen, the schedule is out. We know where all these games are. We know where all the primetime games are. Jason, I'm going to start with you on this question. I feel like I'm a little annoyed, and I just don't know if I'm being a hater or not. We see that the Kansas City Chiefs have 7, not 6, but 7 primetime games, JLC. Your thoughts on the Chiefs just continuing to have this ramp up with the primetime games?
Well, from a handicapping standpoint, it really doesn't do anything for me one way or the other. Like in the pantheon of sort of reasons why I might alter an off-season power ranking or how I stack teams, it takes some serious deviation from the schedule to do it. And this team with this pedigree, I think they're more than used to playing all over the place and being sent all over the place, and kind of becoming, at least from a viewership standpoint, love them or hate them, a bit of America's team when it just comes to how much they're put into unique windows. So, I mean, and look, maybe some of these games, you never know how a season's going to go, right? Some of these games, they might get put back to a 1 p.m. and somebody else gets floated in. I think we also have to remain cognizant if you do want to bank a lot of your futures bets on things like this. Remember, the schedule is completely malleable. So just because something looks like it's primetime now doesn't mean it will be when we get there. But regardless, people have been discounting the Chiefs forever. I remember when people said they couldn't go on the road and win on the playoffs at Baltimore and Buffalo. So it doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Well, Sia, I'll echo that hater sentiment that you laid out, because the fan in me is a little bit tired of it. The Chiefs, of course, the caliber of their dynasty and the team they built, they warrant all those primetime slots. But after 2 years of the Taylor Swift sweepstakes, and as Sia often points out, Travis Kelce just seeking attention in the camera at every possible moment he can, the favorable commentary from the broadcast team, the favorable calls from the referees, I'm a bit nauseated by it at this point, just the fan in me. So yes, warranted, but it's time for someone new.
Thank you.
I can feel the jealousy coming right through the camera there. But I mean, they've earned it. They've gone to the Super Bowl 3 straight years. They have superstars, household names. The thing that I have an issue with is, why did the Dallas Cowboys get 6 primetime games when they are a team that has a win total of 7.5? To me, that is more cause for concern.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I'm with Danny on this one. Danny's with me, perhaps. But let's talk about the Chiefs a little bit more. Larry, I'm going to start with you. Their win total is 11.5. They have a reasonably tough schedule. It's not one of the toughest 5. But your take on the over or the under? The over is minus 102. It looks like the under on 11.5 is minus 118.
It's not the top 5 difficult, but it is the 6th toughest, and they start in the first 4 weeks with Chargers, Ravens, Eagles, and Lions. First 6 weeks, and they have 5 primetime games in their first 8 games. So it is not an easy schedule at all. I'm going to lean under, even though they go over routinely. They've only missed this once in recent history. I'm going to go under. They were 11-0 in one-score games last year. They were very fortunate. Remember the Broncos missing a chip shot field goal, and the division has gotten tougher when the Raiders now have a competent quarterback and a competent coach. That's a new thing that they have to deal with. The Broncos and the Chargers on the rise. They lose their all-pro guard Joe Thuney, traded him away. We'll see if their first-round pick can suit up coming off a serious injury. They do get Rashee Rice back. I'm going to lean under ever so slightly.
I like a lot of the points that Larry made, because it does seem like they tiptoed throughout that season, and they tiptoed to a 15-2 record. So for that reason, I'm going to lean towards the over. It was remarkable, even without Rashee Rice early in the season. Isaiah Pacheco went down. Travis Kelce had a down year, his least productive season since his rookie campaign. Marquise Brown, Hollywood out immediately. And still, they found ways to win games. Andy Reid has done this time in and time out. And although, like I said, I'm a little tired of seeing it, I think that they continue to win. I think they can get to that 12th win, because the last 4 games of their season are winnable. They see the Chargers, the Titans, the Broncos, and the Raiders. And although I do agree with Larry that the Chargers and Broncos and the AFC West has certainly improved, I could see a sophomore slump from Bo Nix. That defense looks incredible, could win games alone, but I still feel that the Broncos have a thin wide receiver room, and the Chiefs are still going to be able to beat up on their division opponents in the West. So if they can get past some of those primetime slots, some of those vaunted NFC opponents, I think they can get that 12th win. But again, walk the tightrope doing so.
Yeah, I have to go over here. I don't do a whole lot of fading the Chiefs, even after getting burnt in the Super Bowl. Over the long haul, you back Andy Reid, and I think they still have that quarterback. Mahomes is. I might be saying that wrong, but they tell me he's still on that team, and he got there in 2018, and so they played 7 seasons since then. And I know Mahomes or whatever only played the last game of that first season, but they still went over this then. And the 7 years that Reid and Mahomes are together, they're over in 6 of 7, and the other year they won 11. And I like the fact that the division's better because they won't have it wrapped up by Thanksgiving. That'll force them to play a little deeper in the year and win more of these games. And all they do is win football games. I don't care about style points. I don't care about, they're an under team now at Arrowhead. They can win a whole bunch of different ways. The O-line will be better. They'll run the ball better. And Larry's right about the early season schedule, but go put that schedule back up there and look at how many of those games are at Arrowhead. Like they go to the Jags, they go to the Giants. I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think they do have a lot of their tougher games at home. An interesting point there, JLC. All right, well, let's talk about the team they lost to in the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles. I do want to point out some breaking news. Nick Sirianni just signed a contract extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. Their win total is 11.5, same as the Kansas City Chiefs. Danny Brasco, I'm going to start with you. You lean over or under? Over being minus 118 at BetMGM.
Slight lean to the over just because of how dominant they finished the last season. A little bit of recency bias in my mind, but they returned that incredible offensive line that's just pushing the pile. That offense can control games by themselves. So even when they have defensive lapses, they control the clock. They stay on the field, and Sirianni's brand of football has really been working. The reason it's a lean to the over is because they've lost Kellen Moore, and that offensive coordinator was fantastic. I wonder how they'll fare without him in a new offense, new schemes, but they have the personnel to be as dominant as ever. They did have some key departures on defense, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, but they added Adoree Jackson, and that secondary still looks really, really strong. The defensive line still has Jordan Davis and company. So I think if they can avoid injury, of course, that's the big caveat to all these futures predictions, they still look pretty deep when healthy. So I like the Eagles to be able to go over this total.
Yeah, this isn't like a super strong play for me because I like to play the futures markets more in teams where I see a lot of upside and you can get a lot more value because obviously they're holding your money for a long time before you get it back. But I have to go over here. I like the extension for Sirianni, and that continuity is a big deal. We all know that what's been going on there with Dom and holding him back and, the team quitting a couple years ago and all that's way behind them. I think the Commanders will regress. I don't buy the Cowboys or the Giants or anybody else in that division. I think they'll win a lot of division games. The defense travels, the defense carries. They're not built for any sort of certain kind of weather conditions. They don't need a dome. They don't need great weather. They've won a lot of football games the last few years. They're comfortable in their own skin. The quarterback doesn't really care about the box score. He cares about winning. So I have to go over here.
Yeah, I mean, when you return all but one starter and you have an able replacement for Mekhi Becton, and on defense, it's another great draft to replace all the defensive pieces that they lost. Getting Zach Bond back was a really key move, extending Lane Johnson. I like where their bye comes at week 9. That's a perfect time to get a bye. I think they win 12 games and go over as well.
Yeah, I hate to say it as a Commanders fan, and the Eagles do have a very tough schedule, but I kind of lean over. I think this team is somehow still ascending. I lean to the over of 11.5 as well. All right, gentlemen, it's May 19th, which of course means we need to discuss who we like to make the Super Bowl. Yes, that's true. That's what we're doing right here, right now. Larry, give me, in May, your Super Bowl matchup.
Well, it's going to be chalky. I'm going to take the Ravens and the Eagles. I mean, Kellen Moore is gone, but Vic Fangio is back, a defense that got a nearly 40% pressure rate on Patrick Mahomes without blitzing. That's how good that defense is. But the Ravens, they were power rated the top team in the NFL coming down the wire. 3 turnovers in Buffalo derailed them, but all their key pieces are back on offense. I love the draft with Malachi Starks and Mike Green to add to a defense that finished the year as one of the best defenses in football. So give me the Ravens and Eagles in a chalk matchup.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Ravens, outside of having a true elite pass rusher, it probably is the best roster in football. The quarterback somehow didn't win an MVP last year, even though he had a top 5 season of all time. And I think the offense, I mean, scary to say, but I think the offense can be as efficient as it was a year ago and maybe even tick up a notch. So I like the Ravens to finally break through in the AFC with Lamar Jackson. And I think I was a year early on the Packers last year. And I'm going to go back, and I have gone back down that road in the futures market. I think the division is down. That's a really young team that has some playoff calluses, has some playoff experience, has a legit head coach. The quarterback was never healthy last year. I like what they did in the draft. I think Green Bay has a chance to sneak up on some people this year, and I think they're playoff caliber.
Yeah, we made the case for the Eagles in the NFC, and I do think they have a path in the NFC East to get there, certainly with the best record. And in the AFC, I'm really high on the Buffalo Bills. You guys know I'm a UFC guy. They kind of feel like that perennial title contender that just can't get past the champ. I'd like them to do that this year. They, of course, have the reigning MVP, Josh Allen, who can take over a game by himself, but they look extremely deep this year. I love what they did in the draft, loaded up on defensive linemen and cornerbacks. That secondary, now led by Christian Benford, who looks like an absolute stud, looks to be really good. Taron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, really scrappy bunch back there. Their linebacker room might be the best in the league behind Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano. They added Joey Bosa, Balin Spector, even a dog back there. So I just really like their D-line, their linebacker core, and their secondary. And of course, that offense with that running back room returning, with James Cook and company, I think they'll be efficient as ever. Khalil Shakir, proving he's a #1 wide receiver, leading the NFL in catch rate with targets thrown his way. The Bills have all the pieces to get to the top this year, and I think they'll be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Bills and the Ravens, very compelling. If it's me, I'm going Ravens and Eagles. I do want to give a shout out to the Rams. I think they're a sneaky team to represent the NFC. Jason, I remember from a show earlier you liking the Rams as well. All right. Well, Jason Lock-on-4, Danny Brasco, Larry Hartstein. Never let anybody tell you it's too early to talk NFL, because it never is. Thank you.